Well, hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Unmasked podcast. I am, as always, one of your hosts, Spencer, alongside of Mr. Andy Driscoll.
What's going on,
Dude,
everybody?
we need like one of those like applause buttons.
Yeah, dude, we gotta get some effects going on, or one of those little horns from back, like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what we need.
We'd get it either way, it'd be good. So, bro, what's going on, man? How are things?
Man, hanging in there, man. It's been a week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My wife was out of town. So Labor Day just happened. And or the weekend, Labor Day weekend.
Right.
So this episode is being recorded and released quick, by the way.
Bam.
For those
Bam.
of
That's
you
what we're
that
doing.
are
That's what we're
listening to
doing.
it as soon as it drops. So Labor
Hey,
Day
when we said we're gonna get them out on Tuesdays, we're gonna get them out on Tuesdays at all costs.
Yes, we are.
At
Yes,
all costs.
we are. So yeah, we didn't say what time. Hopefully.
No, we didn't.
Hopefully they'll be like midnight Monday into Tuesday.
Yeah, bro.
But it's just one of those weeks for
life
us.
happens sometimes, man. Life happens. It's been a busy couple of weeks, so
Yeah. But so anyways, wife was out of town and had the opportunity to spend some time with my brother-in-law, which was awesome.
nice.
My actual brother and his wife and kids came into town to hang with the fam, so I got to spend some time with them, and yeah, so it ended up being good. It was a good weekend.
Bro, that's awesome.
How about you? You have a good Labor Day weekend?
Yeah, man, it was good. We just kind of chilled a little bit, and it's a good week, man. Nothing major one way or the other. We had here at the church, we had a busy weekend. We have we have another church that meets at our facility that we've kind of a sister church. We've partnered with them. We've helped them along. They planted, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. It's a Congolese congregation, so they're from the Congo, and dude, they're some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. So, but they had their big like regional Congolese conference. It was called Adore 2023, and I didn't realize how big it was going to be. And so they invited me. They got me this nice dress shirt with the conference logo on it.
You sent the picture.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
I was on my CMA swag, and so, but of course, I had to dress it up a little bit.
right.
They're all rocking nice dress pants and this and that. I'm rocking like some black skinny jeans and some high top dunks. That's just the way I roll. So, but man, it was awesome, dude. It's like, so they invited me. I went up here Saturday. It started at 3:30, and I don't know if you know much about African churches, but from the Congo, bro. But when they have a service, they have a service.
Yeah.
Like it was on. It went from 3:30 to 8:30.
One service.
And
wow.
Dude, because there was churches from 6 different states, man. It was wild. But each worship team had a 30-minute worship set.
Wow, that's cool.
And dude, the musicians were on point. Now it was loud as all get out. Like if you were in the sound, audio industry or running music, whatever. I mean, what would you say is a good dB level to run at? A good safe dB level for something like that? What do you guys run at?
Yeah, probably
85 dB, something like that. Yeah, I pulled out. It was so loud, bro. I pulled out my dB meter that I have on my phone just to see. Dude, we were peaking out at 115 dBs for
my gosh,
for hours. And so then I look it up, and it's anything over 100 dBs for more than 15 minutes at a time can lead to permanent hearing loss. So
yeah,
thankfully, being that I've been in a lot of bands as a drummer, through college and all that times, my hearing's trash anyway. So it's it is what it is. But dude, it was amazing, dude. It was so cool to be a part of that. I love that those individuals. Pastor Christian, shout out to him. I doubt he's going to be watching this because he speaks French and not a lot of English. But shout out to Pastor Christian. Such an incredible dude. Got a huge heart for God and people, and man, they're just doing big things. So it was cool to be a part of that. So, but that was my weekend. Now this week I have a very busy week, but it's all fun stuff. So tonight, after we record this, I'm packing up and I'm going to Indianapolis just for the evening for a concert, a band that I've wanted to see forever that I haven't seen. Two of them actually. So Dayseeker and Silent Planet. And so I'm real excited about that. And what's
Yeah.
cool is that my son is coming with me. He's never been to a metal kind of rock
Dude,
show.
that's awesome, bro.
So it's going to be a good time. And then Thursday, I'm going on a golf trip to Chattanooga at a little hole in the wall golf course that is plush, that is incredible. One of the hidden secrets in the golf community called Sweetens Cove. So if you are a golfer,
the secret.
Oh man, hey, if you're a golfer,
You know,
like one of their things is if you know, you know. But if you live anywhere close, try to get on the Sweetens Cove. It's hard to get on. They do day passes. They limit the people that are on the course every day,
man.
and they
I
sell out
wish I
quick.
was a good enough golfer to like just to I don't even have just the invitation to be like, oh, I'll pay for a day pass. I'll try and
Yeah,
get
bro.
on this course.
You if you were a serious golfer, bro, you would have been on the trip list for sure.
Well,
But maybe one day. Maybe one day.
We'll see.
But yeah, so it's going to be a good week. So we're hitting Sweetens Cove on Thursday all day, staying the night there, and hitting the Mammoth Cave course on the way back home. So it's going to be a great time. So
cool.
Good week.
Well, I had we talked last week. I wanted to give you a quick update before we move into this. I saw the Miami FC Cincinnati game.
Oh yeah.
So we talked about it last episode. I just wanted to give my feedback. It was unbelievable. So it was the game. If any soccer fans out there that are listening, the game ended 3-3, and so it went to penalty kicks.
Oh, sweet.
But just the nature, and I won't get into it. You can go watch the highlights yourself, but if you care. But it was probably one of the craziest like back and forth soccer games I've ever witnessed in my entire life, and I've seen a lot. And then on top of that, like just how surreal it was to see Messi in person.
So did he play a lot?
He played the whole game. No, dude, he played
sweet.
the whole game.
I know you thought like maybe he's gonna play, maybe he's not. So he played the whole game.
So yeah.
Now did he do penalty kicks or they have other people? No, he did.
Yeah. So whoever's on the field. So basically, the only people that can take penalty kicks on the field, or at the end of the game, are the 11 people on the field. So like, what sucked for Cincinnati is we were winning 2-0 going into like the back third of the match.
Yeah.
And so we started pooling some of our offensive players, our star players, to put defensive players in to try and just hold down the fort and win the game.
Okay.
But what happened was that Messi was still on the field. And when Messi's still on the field, anything is fair game. And sure freaking enough, dude, he scored a penalty kick at the end of the game, but in regular time, he never scored, but he assisted twice. Man, he may have assisted all three of them. I know he at least assisted twice.
Probably. Right.
And they were just fun, like were just wild assists. Like the second one was scored in the 90 something minute of the second half, which is what sent it to overtime.
Yeah.
And then both teams scored in overtime, and it was just nuts. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
So as like an FC Cincinnati fan, it was an incredibly emotional, like, I was pumped, I was angry, I was sad, I was happy. It was like everything, across the board you could feel in a sporting event. At a sporting event, it checked all the boxes. Right. But as a Cincinnati fan, we ended up losing on penalty kicks, which is the worst way to lose.
Right.
I wish we would have just lost 3-2.
Yeah, but what an entertaining game though. Like I'm thinking like if I'm like super like stoked about a game and it's like this hyped up game, for it to go to penalty kicks, right, like to me, like as a non-soccer fan, like right, I go to a soccer match. I mean, that's cool. Right. But I'm not like, I don't follow or anything like that. But like if I went to a game and then with the penalty kicks, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's roll.
I mean, it is exciting. Like it makes
Like
it,
it's like hockey.
especially
It
the
makes
way
me
that
think
it
of like the
happened.
Mighty Ducks, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it comes down to that, the triple D. You know what I'm saying?
that's right. No, it is exciting, like because yeah, I don't know. You just got to go watch the highlights. We
Yeah, I
can
might have to check it
talk
out.
about it for forever because
Yeah,
then
for
it just
sure.
waste time on something people could just go watch because it was so back and forth. We thought we had it. FC thought they had it in the bag, but again, Messi was dumb. Katie, my wife, looked over. She like leaned over to me at one point. It was 50. It was the 56th minute, and in soccer it counts up to 90.
Right.
Rather than like counting down. And so we were in the 56th minute, and my wife and we were winning 2-0. And my wife leans over to me and she goes, like, "Oh my gosh, like we could win this." I was like, "Not yet. Like
Right.
Messi's still on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't
When you
count
got
this out."
when you got the greatest soccer player,
And
in the league right now on the field, anything's
in
possible.
the world right now on the field,
Right.
like this, it was unbelievable. And
That's
sure enough,
awesome.
he pulled it back.
There you went. Well, I went to a soccer game this past week.
Oh yeah.
University of Louisville. Yeah.
Oh,
Now
that's right.
I was working a concession stand for
That's
my
right.
daughter's dance booster club, but I was there and Louisville got the dub. So
Was that the day that it was like a 300 degrees outside?
it was a billion degrees outside, a billion degrees, and they didn't have air conditioning or fans in the concessions booth I was working. So it was a little sweaty,
Man,
but it was good
that's all
times.
right.
It was good times. So, well, I know we've said that we kind of want to have a good time frame on this podcast. We don't want to delay it, but we're both talkers, which makes it really difficult.
Yeah.
And so we should probably just go ahead and roll into our main conversation for today. And I was thinking about what we want to talk about this week, what we want to talk about kind of from an unmasked perspective. And I don't know how much you follow politics or anything like that. I typically try not to, just because it's all drama all the time, but it's
Right.
important stuff. But I saw so many people know Mitch McConnell. He's a senator from Kentucky. So I live in Kentucky. You're in Ohio, so right there, close to it. But so the dude is old, right? Like,
Yeah.
not trying to throw shade or anything. He's 81 years old.
Yeah.
And he, for the second time in like 5 weeks, this was like a week and a half ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, during a press conference, like, he's asked these questions and he just kind of all of a sudden gets this like blank stare, kind of like he's staring off in the distance, just like out on the rings of Saturn somewhere. Like, he doesn't know where he's at. And then he just freezes. And
Huh.
like, he's got like his assistants or handlers or whatever that come up and I'm like, "Bro, you okay? Like, you good? This is," and he just freezes. And then they're like, "Oh, we're going to have to take a timeout. We're going to have to pause this." And so this like happened like 2 times in like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And when you look at Mitch McConnell, like I said, he's, regardless of where you stand on your political stance or whatever, like, I'm thinking of this more from a leadership perspective, right?
Okay.
So the dude is 81 years old. Obviously, he's having some health issues because he's 81. I was looking into it. Apparently, back in like July 26th, he fell. Was it July 26th? Let me see. I don't know. At some point in time recently, he had a fall where he had suffered a traumatic brain injury and like dislocated his shoulder, fractured some ribs or whatever.
Dang.
And so he's just having a tough time, man. Like I said, I think it's primarily just because, like I said, he's just kind of old. He's getting up there.
Right.
But the dude has been, like, he was first elected to the Senate in Kentucky in 1984.
Wow.
Bro, I'm 40 and I was born in the last day of 1982. Like, my birthday is New Year's Eve. So the last day, so kind of closer to 83, but last day of 82.
Yeah.
So the dude's been in the Senate like 1 year less, pretty much a year and a half than I've been alive.
Wow.
So you're looking at, if he's 81, so he was probably around 40, my age, when he went into the Senate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of people are calling like maybe it's time for him to step down. There's all these conversations around like term limits for Senate and areas like that. So like I said, it really got me thinking, like, we see this not only in politics, because a lot of the politicians, are older. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be like they're just old, too old. You know what I'm saying? But like
Well, you can
they're
even
old,
cross the line. You can even cross the line in like Biden, where you know,
dude.
people like a
How
lot
old
of
is Biden? I don't.
104 maybe.
I mean, it seems like it.
And but it's almost like he's being used. You know what I mean? Like uh he's so old that
He's
that
80.
is
He's
he
80.
really?
He's 80.
I definitely thought he acts older than that.
Yeah, dude
And
is
again, like as
82
you like no shade,
or 80. He
no
was born
shade to
in
Biden,
42.
but he but it's just I don't know, man. It's like at some point you're either not fit to lead anymore or you're being used um as a lot of people, and it's kind of a conspiracy theory of sorts, I would say, but
Sure.
a lot of people think that the Democrats just used Biden as an opportunity to win the presidency,
Yeah.
and then just kind of force him to do and
Do
say whatever
whatever.
they
Yeah,
needed,
like a
they
puppet.
wanted him to, right?
Yeah, and I think like so Biden is 80. Donald Trump is 77.
Yeah,
So regardless, yeah, I mean, because it seems like those are going to be the two that are running, right? Like that are going to be the nominees for each party. It's probably going to be again Biden versus Trump.
is Trump
And
running
so
from prison?
that's the way it seems, right? Like
Yeah,
I know they had the
is he gonna do?
Republican debate recently, and he wasn't on there, but he's still leading in the polls somehow by
What's
like
unbelievable?
it's crazy. But if he were to get it, say Trump, by the time he would take office, he's going to be like 78. So I mean, you're looking at he'll finish his term at 82. If Biden gets, he's going to end in his term at like 85.
Yeah,
And it's like, and that's not saying that people that are older, there are plenty of people that have their full capacities and are sharp and they have the experience. And that's one of the
absolutely.
pros of having a leader that is that age. If they are sharp and they're with it, and they haven't lost a step, like, dude, there is so much value in that. And
Absolutely.
and but at the same time, we see Biden all the time. Dude's like stumbling over his words. He doesn't falling downstairs, and it's just, to me, it's a bad look. But on the bigger picture, it's like, what about so if Mitch McConnell stepped into the Senate at 40, maybe it's time for new leadership to rise up.
Yeah.
There is kind of this sweet spot where you don't want some young buck that really has no life experience and that's a little reckless, kind of a cowboy, or a woman that is younger, that again doesn't have any experience, male or female, doesn't matter, in there in positions of great authority,
Right.
where they're going to struggle and where they're going to be weak. But
Right.
man, there's a sweet spot in here that it takes a younger individual to understand the needs of the current and upcoming generations,
Right.
to what is truly needed and where we need to go. And like I said, we've been talking about politics, but we see it in everything. We see it in major corporations.
Yeah.
And for us being pastors, man, how many times do we see this in a church where you have a senior pastor who probably stepped into his role in his 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, possibly early 40s, but typically mid 30s, and then stays the lead pastor at that church for 40 years, and you have so many good up and coming leaders, young leaders, that need to be discipled, that need to be coached, that need to be developed, yes, and equipped to step into those roles. But they're never afforded that opportunity unless they leave and go somewhere else, because maybe that senior pastor
isn't willing to give up.
Yeah, isn't willing to give it up, or sees them as a threat.
Yeah.
And so they keep them pushed down so that they don't rise up above them.
Right.
And I think it's been a huge problem in the church, but just obviously everywhere we see it in all aspects of life. But I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on like kind of the pros and cons, or like at what point is it time for a pastor or someone of that nature to look to hand off?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends. I think the problem is um we often don't see solid leadership development pipelines even present, let
Sure.
alone being used or effective, to even develop young leaders like it. And so whether that was intentional from the top because the older generation wants to stay in control, or it just wasn't effectively developed and
Yeah.
implemented, in a timely manner. Um,
So what you're saying is it could be that there isn't somebody ready to step up
because
and
they
take
haven't
the reins because they haven't prepared and
been
equipped them. They haven't
correct.
developed them into that leadership.
Correct. And I think that's what you probably primarily see in a lot of well, I think they go hand in hand. One, I think that there's obviously in our humanity we have a pride issue and we always have.
Sure.
And so it's like
Yeah.
and so and the way our culture works is it is those that are seen as successful are the ones that climbed themselves to the top and then stayed there as long as they could, made as much money as they possibly could. You know what I mean? Like that's what our culture sees as success. So even in the
Yeah.
church setting, you know, getting sort of a senior pastor position, um, or even like an elder board, like most
Sure.
elder boards
Yeah.
in
Our elders.
Western church, yeah, like are like the until recently, the average age of our elder board or the youngest age on our elder board was 68, maybe something like
Yeah.
that. So like, and the oldest is 90, 91, like still on our elder
Yeah.
board. And
Wow.
I love them all to death and respect them all greatly, but you can tell, right? At some point, it's like you're not engaged in this conversation
Yeah.
because you're just not firing on all cylinders. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but I think the problem, I think there's two problems. There's one is this the pride issue or the way our culture has defined success and um what it means to grow up or to scale the corporate ladder. You see that even in
Yeah.
the church, you see that in politics. um and then the other side of it is, I think for me, the other side of it is just there's not been developed effective pipelines, leadership development pipelines, um implemented to actually develop young leaders
Yeah.
that are capable and have the character to back, whatever position you're asking them to step into. And so I think those are like two primary issues that
Yeah.
you see. The the hard part is the fight, right, between the two of trying to encourage older leaders that have been in a position, one, like the same position, or continuing to try and scale to the top as quickly as possible, trying to encourage them or persuade them that their way of thinking about leadership is off
Yeah.
or incomplete. Like it doesn't have to be off. Like I'm not
Right.
okay. I'm
Well,
okay with, because of the nature of, like, if we're just talk church for a minute because that's what
sure.
we both
Yeah.
do. I'm okay with a pastor staying a pastor at a church, lead pastor or not, at a church for 40 years. The hope would be, in the way I believe God designed the church, is for us to be family units in local
Yeah.
context, right? The problem is, and what you were saying is, just to clarify, is oftentimes when a lead pastor is in a position for 40 years, there's nobody being developed underneath him, and or those that are being developed underneath him are not actually given opportunities to lead
Yes.
because the guy at the top wants to hold it. And
Hmm.
so what happens is, like you said, they either have to go somewhere else or their leadership gets stifled and they get, or their leadership potential gets stifled and they get discouraged and they
Maybe even jaded.
maybe even jaded. And ultimately, eventually, like those churches are going to die because they're going to
Yeah.
lose all the youth because there's no youth being represented, because there's no care or concern for the next generation. So they're going to lose all of their youth, and then they're going to die,
Yeah.
like literally,
Yeah.
because the pastor, gets old and passes away. All of the congregants get old and pass away, and the reality is the church just folds because there's nobody left.
Yeah.
Like
How much of
that's the concern.
Yeah, how much of that do you think, and I'll share some of my thoughts with my own personal experience with this, is a generational disconnect in
Yeah,
that, um I can see,
yeah,
and again,
very
I've
much so.
experienced this, a pastor that was, a very, very successful lead pastor and leading a church in the 80s and 90s, and things have changed so drastically, and then they have, or maybe even early 2000s, things have changed so much, and then you have a new leader that has, that's on your team that has all these different ideas, and then they have this fear and worry of the slippery slope, that if we
Right.
start doing this, then it's going to lead to, heresy, and it's going to us going down a path that we don't want to go, and that's unbiblical or whatever. So they feel like they have to hold it tight to the chest and protect
Yep.
it from those type of things. And then so what ends up happening is they don't let they don't unleash that person to actually lead.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So I've had conversations recently where it's like, um, people will say, if I have a disagreement with a tradition in the church,
sure.
then somebody's argument, of an older generation, has been to me, so do you just not trust the leaders that established this tradition, 500 years ago, that their pursuit was biblical? And my response is, well, it's not that I don't trust that it was biblical, but as culture changes and shifts, so do the way, not the message and the mission of the church, but the method of the church often has
Yeah.
to shift in
Form
order to
versus function.
continue to right in order to continue to, um be, I don't know, excuse me, this is like a, people don't like this word in the church, but in order to be relevant,
Sure.
to attract or to reach the current or the new generations. And my argument is, if you're talking about people 500 years ago, like humanity has existed for thousands of years. So that means that 500 years ago, those people made a decision based off the culture of their day that they needed a new tradition that now you're fighting for today. What if it's time for that tradition to go away, similar to them saying the traditions that they were fighting needed to go away 500
Yeah.
years ago, new tradition to be made, so that new traditions can be established today that are going to reach the next generation. And for whatever
Right.
reason, it's just hard for people to comprehend that life cycle of change that
Yeah.
we have to be aware of in order to reach the next generation. Because if we
Yeah.
don't, and we don't develop the next generation of leaders, then we're going to die. And that's what we've
For
seen.
sure.
If I can be like,
Yeah.
if I can be
Well,
a little honest, just real quick too, that's what's happened in the American church.
yeah.
The American
Well,
church has been
we
so
fight.
caught up in tradition that older
Yep.
generations are holding stuff so tight to their chest that they're starting to die. They're starting to go away. The young generations are recognizing that their voice isn't either being heard, that their
Valued.
aren't being valued and or spoken to. And so the church in America is essentially, statistically, uh failing
Yeah.
because of that.
Sure. Well, I think, so I got to I wouldn't say I had the privilege of experiencing this firsthand, because it was not a privilege. It was a very difficult time in my life. But so Life Point Church, we merged with another church back in 2017,
Yeah.
First Alliance Church here in Louisville, and we were very different congregations. So
Yeah.
I was leading at Life Point as the lead pastor. At the time, I was in my mid-30s. Tattoos, gauges, this is what I preach in like every week, dude. I'm like
Yeah.
jeans, t-shirt, and a hat,
Right.
and just a younger, our average age of our congregation was probably, 40, um, maybe even a little younger. And we were merging with this small church that, not to, it's just reality. I'm not trying to say anything negative, but they were dying. I mean,
Right.
their average age was probably mid to late 60s, and there was like 25, 30 of them, and very traditional
Right.
pastors in suits and ties and all that. And so we merged together. And my thought on this was, this could be a beautiful thing, because you're bringing a newer generation and older generation. There's a lot of things that we needed as a church, with that more seasoned, people that have been believers for, 40, 50
Right.
years, and then us being a younger congregation, there was some excitement that we could bring and life put into the church that way, and younger people to help care
Right.
for some of the elderly people that were in the church. So to me, it was like this beautiful thing. But what we quickly found was there was just a lot of, I was named the lead pastor of it. And for the first year, their lead pastor was on staff too, and he was very traditional. And what we quickly found was this rub and this headbutting of just tradition,
Because he,
just
yeah.
how we operated church. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How the
Right.
service functioned. Me not wearing a suit was a problem at times.
Right.
Not dressing up, me wearing a hat. Us, the way we did communion, they wanted to do it this way. This is the way we always did it versus this way. And it was a constant fight. And here I am, like, I was new to being a lead pastor. I mean, I'd been in leadership positions, honestly, much larger than this position at the church, but it was so challenging because this was new to me. And here I
Yeah.
am, have the opportunity to spend a year with this pastor that had been a pastor for 20 plus years, or 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can learn so much from him. And
But he wasn't willing to.
it
Yeah.
never happened, because it was a fight, because
Yeah.
it was viewed as that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And man, I tried to learn and I tried to honor, but it was challenging, man.
Yeah.
And it went south quick, when it could have been a very, very beautiful opportunity.
I think that's I love that you just used the word honor. I think that's the wrestle that I have, as I'm 31, and I've been in church leadership for 9 years, and maybe more than that, 10 years. And it's at different levels. I've
Yeah.
been just a worship guy. I've been a children's guy. I've been a youth pastor. I've been I planted and was a lead pastor for a
Yep.
season. And now I'm on staff at an established church, and I took a just, this doesn't really mean anything, but just for the sake of explanation, a lower pastoral role,
Yeah.
in submitting to another lead pastor. And so I've seen a lot, right? I've been through a lot, even in my short period of time. And I think the biggest challenge I've had is wrestling with how my goal is to honor, to
Yeah.
respect, to honor, to recognize the legacy of those that have come before, and the value that older generations bring. But um but when they don't but when that's not reciprocated, like when they look at me as just this young, you know guy who's trying to change everything, which is not
Right.
the case,
Right.
um then I'm looked down upon, and my voice isn't heard or respected.
Yeah.
And not that like, not that that's all I'm striving for, but what that does is diminish my ability and potential to continue to grow as a leader
Yes.
rather than having difficult conversations, rather than saying like rather than the older generation coming alongside of me and saying like we don't get, we might not agree with you, and
Yeah.
it's probably because we don't get it. Can we talk about it and
Right.
see what happens? And I've had, like, luckily in my context, like I've actually had the opportunity to have some of those conversations. And the beauty is sometimes we go into those conversations and the older generation will say, wow, like, we don't get it, but that sounds right. That sounds
Yeah. I never
biblical.
saw it that
And
way, or,
I never
that
saw it
makes
that way.
sense. Yeah.
And let's go after it. And then there are times where they'll push
Absolutely.
back with sort of their more traditional line of thinking. And I'm like,
And
okay, like,
wisdom. Yeah.
and
And
wisdom.
wisdom.
And I'm like, that makes sense. And I will
But,
adjust.
and the
But
key to it there, while you're talking, I mean, to interrupt, but I think the key to that is mutual submission, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, in thinking back in my situation, there was not mutual submission either way.
Yeah.
And I have to own that, because I think what happens at times with the younger generation is they see the need for change, not change for the sake of change, because I just want to control things and do it my way.
Right.
But we see where culture has shifted and is shifting, and how can we maintain with a strong biblical foundation to reach this next generation? And it's going to take things that are different, that are outside the box, that aren't quote unquote the old way.
Right.
And so we start bringing that up. And if it's constantly shut down and shut down and shut down, then frustration comes,
Right.
and then it becomes unhealthy. And
Right.
but when there's mutual submission from both leaders, I think that is key, right?
Key.
And ultimately, in my opinion, I was told this a long time ago, but one of the key responsibilities of a leader, a senior leader, lead pastor, CEO, whatever it might be, is to develop your
Yeah.
replacement, right?
Yeah.
My goal, you're 31, I'm 40. If we were working together, my goal would be to develop you
Yeah.
to be twice as good as me.
Yeah.
And if I could do that, then step aside and allow you to thrive,
Yeah.
and then coach you along the way. Man, what a beautiful legacy to leave. That
Right.
sets you up for success, that allows the other person to ride off in the sunset, and it makes for a healthy organization and leadership development.
It's good.
Yeah, man, I think we could talk, like, I don't know, we could talk for days on that. It's such
Yeah.
a good and complex conversation. And again, let me clarify. There are phenomenal leaders that are doing this right, that are in their 60s and 70s
Yeah. That's
and
not what we're saying.
80s.
Right.
And if you are a leader in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you're watching or listening to this, one, I'm proud of you. Thanks for being here. But two, man, we love you. We respect you, and you can lead, and you've led well. But I think it's just something that we need to look at. And, I think as we move up in age, a conversation we need to remember.
Yeah. And I think yeah. I mean, if you're doing, I mean, if you are of the older generation, leading well and strong, and bringing, like, and you have some sort of leadership development pipeline that you are effectively walking younger generations through, like, we praise God for you and keep doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we need
I
you.
think the challenge and the encouragement would be for those of you, for anybody listening, that's not doing that, like, don't write off younger generations. They are
Yeah.
necessary for the future of whatever God has planned for humanity. Um and there's a lot of smart ones out there,
Yeah.
and just because I think,
Primed and ready to go.
yeah, man, and I think, like, you mentioned generational disconnects a few minutes ago, and I was thinking too about generational stereotypes, and I think
Oh, yeah.
those have hurt a lot of potential as well. Just in, like, the millennial, like, my generation was the lazy generation, quote unquote.
Yep.
And it's just not true. I mean, you
No.
may see some of that, like in every generation, there's going to be whatever the stereotype is. It's probably the minority,
Yep.
you know, but the majority is we're hardworking. We want the best for the people around us. We want to impact the community. We want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so don't write us off because of stereotypes either.
Yeah. I think a great way to wrap this up would be just remembering.
Let's have a time of prayer. Can we just have a time of
Yeah,
prayer real quick, bro?
we can. Can we hold hands through
Can
the
we hold
camera?
hands?
Um, it you know, in scripture we read about the body of Christ and it being compared to a physical body,
Right,
and every component, every piece of the body is necessary and
right,
needed.
right.
And and none are more important than the other, with Jesus at the head, right? But you got your arms, your legs, your knees, your
Yeah,
shoulders, elbows, your hips, and you got everything, and it's all needed to function perfectly.
right,
And so take that into all generations,
right.
right? All age groups, all ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. We need everybody to truly be the church as designed.
Yeah,
And everyone is equally valuable.
yeah.
And I think the younger generation needs to remember that about the older generation. The older
Absolutely.
generation needs to know that about the younger generation.
Yeah,
And I think when we can come together and operate that way, with mutual submission, with mutual respect, and honoring one another, the church will thrive.
yeah,
And take that out into the world, right? Our
yeah,
companies and our businesses will thrive. Politically, politics, politicians, things will be different. And that's a stretch, and that's going to be a long time away, but that's what it's going to have to take.
yeah.
And but anyway, so such a great conversation.
Yeah, dude. We'll
Anything else you
probably
want to
have
say on that?
another. No, I mean, we'll probably have another variation of this conversation at some point.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
you and I are pretty heavily involved in these types of conversations, especially
Yeah,
within the church, and so
yeah,
it'll probably come up again. I will.
sure it
Okay,
will.
fine. Something just came to mind, so I will say one
I
last
knew
thing.
you had something. I could see it in your eyes.
So, uh, Ephesians 4, Paul talks about like the giftings of leaders,
Yeah,
and
bro. I just preached
and,
on that 2 weeks
and
ago. Go check it out. Life Point, Facebook, YouTube. It's there. Sorry, had to do a plug. Be the church. It's our current series.
but what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the leadership gifts God gives people?
Are you asking me
I'm
that?
asking. You just preached on it. You should know. What is
Yeah,
what is
no,
the
I mean
primary purpose?
it's to
To,
equip the
to
church and
equip.
protect the church.
To equip. Yeah,
Yeah,
fine. You can add protection, sure, but to equip,
yeah.
right? And it's and so like if
Because the leader's job is not to do everything,
I think sad,
right?
right, and I think sadly, like traditionally, what that's looked like for the Western church pastors is my job is to teach teach the Bible and see what happens rather than
Right.
rather than actually getting in the trenches with the messiness of people and
Yeah.
equipping them in the midst of real life to one, pursue what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus, but
Yeah.
ultimately to continue to equip and grow and train next generation of leaders to um to keep the cycle going,
Yeah.
and
I, it makes me think about our friend, our great friend, who we will have on this podcast hopefully sooner than later as a guest, but Zach Mearcreeves, right? He he pastored a church. He planted a church called New City in Lexington,
right.
and it really, like, truly was like a training ground
That's what it
for
was.
pastors. Like, I remember him. I was in Lexington for one of my daughter's dance competitions, and I was like, "Hey, bro, I'm probably gonna, if I got time, I'm gonna pop into your service Sunday." And he's like, "Yeah, great, man. Just so you know, dude, like, I don't know who's going to be preaching. We have different people preaching every week. It could be their first time preaching. That's one of our core values is, we are preparing the next generation to lead in the church and to preach. And it's like, so we give people the opportunity to get up there and preach. And, it could be great. It could be like not great, but like how beautiful of a scenario, because I'm guilty of this. There's so many times that, like, man, let me just be honest. And this is one of my flaws as a pastor, but there's times that I know someone's coming to preach the next week, and I won't even tell the congregation that I'm out that next week, the Sunday before, because I'm afraid people won't show up.
Won't come. Right. Absolutely.
And after I think about that, I'm like, dude, that is messed up. One, it sounds super arrogant, and I don't mean it that way, but that's kind of a culture that has been developed. Like, oh, the pastor's not going to be here this Sunday. Well, we'll just skip this week. We'll go to the lake, or
Right.
we'll relax and chill.
Right.
As opposed to, like, we need to be putting the next generation up there and giving them opportunities to share what God has placed on their heart. Because even if it's not super clean and it's not this textbook message that people expect, bro, there's beauty and there's value and there's gems that they're going to share from their life experience and from their rawness. And it's such a beautiful thing. But many times we don't give them that platform and that opportunity to be used by God. So I don't know. That's just why you were talking about that. It made me think about Zach's church and what they did there at New City, which
and they're seeing so
such a
much
beautiful
fruit,
thing,
dude. And they're seeing so much, like,
dude.
when you think of a church plant, normally it's a new church started in a community, and their goal is to reach that community, and that's beautiful, and that's
sure,
it has
needed.
been. But Zach, when his leadership team was open to whatever God wanted them to do in downtown Lexington, he just brought them like young potential leaders over and over and over again. So while they did have some impact, like in the community that they were in, because they equipped those that God sent them, they are now having impact in communities all over the country and all over the world because of their willingness to equip the next generation.
Yeah. I mean, I think about Jordan and Steven, who are in Delaware, Ohio, who are crushing it. Like, they're reaching that community like no other. Two phenomenal leaders that came from that church plant. So anyways, shout out Zach. And it's good stuff. So transitioning in to our Unmasked reaction of the week. We need to have like some cool like intro to that, like Unmasked reaction of the week.
I'll bring it back.
So this is one that maybe some of our senior Christians would take offense to. This video that I've sent it to you. It's
I haven't seen it yet.
And you haven't seen it yet, like we said. So this is a true reaction from him. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing like, the past 2 weeks we've had pretty outlandish reaction videos of pastors and youth pastors going off the rails. But this week, I just saw this video just while I was scrolling, while I was not being spiritual and stuck
Productive.
in a TikTok scroll.
Yeah.
Dude, this caught me. It's like, to me, it's the most epic thing. So I'll let you go ahead and watch it. You can put it up to your mic so that people can hear it. Maybe one day our production value will be such that we can throw the video up there. We'll get there at this point. But
is it wait a minute.
I sent it to you.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Yep. What does it say?
Inappropriate riffing over worship songs.
Yes, sir. Let's
part
do
10.
it.
This is part 10. Well, hang on a minute. Wait a minute.
Get your volume up.
How do I? All right, here
Dude,
we go.
You're 31. Figure it out.
This is ridiculous. This is so ridiculous, bro. All right, here we go.
Oh, we can't hear it. I don't know if there's some kind of gate on your. Oh no, we can't. I can't hear it.
You can't?
No, nothing.
How can you not hear that?
Zoom
Hey,
has
hang on,
blocked it,
man.
I guess. I don't know what's
No, I
going
got
on
it here.
here.
Wait. I got figured it out. Hang on, watch this. Dude, okay. So she's singing. So this is Teo from Hillsong singing Oceans.
Yeah.
So just a little context. I think I gotta hit this button. All right, ready? Here we go.
Scoot it back a little. Let's go.
So amazing.
How perfect is that? Get it. The breakdown. So good, bro.
Dude, that's oh my gosh. Dude,
Dude,
that's so freaking amazing.
so I
I've
am,
seen some of these before.
yeah, of that guy, or just
No. Just of
inappropriate
like
riffing over worship.
inappropriate riffing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, how perfect did that fit?
It fits on so
But
first of all, excuse my metal naivete. Is that an actual song?
no, I think
So he just
yeah,
wrote that
he
basically
in the
over
video
it.
you see him, he's kind of got some synth he's
It's it.
doing, and
Okay.
he added the drums and he was
I just didn't
riffing
know if he
over
was
it.
like playing like an actual song.
No, I don't think so. Not
All
that
right.
I'm aware of. So I think he just built something, a riff and some breakdowns and stuff over top of
Can
it. But
you
dude, it
imagine?
fits so perfect. Like, so
So
here's the thing. Like, I've been in the church my entire life. Like I was born, I feel like, into the church. And I have never been like a big like worship music guy. I like it. Like that song like has meant a ton to me. And I mean you've talked about that just in different
like
transitions of my
Oceans.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many beautiful songs like Cody Carnes, dude. I can listen to him like all
Same.
the time. And but I just never like I'm not the dude that jumps in my car and puts on like worship music. There's certain
Yeah.
timings that I like it, but if that was what we was rocking to,
You could get it. So okay, so
I
that's
could get on that.
so here's my response. Here's my unmasked reaction. It's wild
Yeah.
because it's not normal.
It's not
Right. So to hear Oceans, to hear Taya sing Oceans to metal, right?
a straight up breakdown.
You're right. But you're not wrong. Like, I personally believe this probably isn't like the crazy unmatched reaction you're hoping for, but I personally believe that like cultural context for a local church or for church expressions is vital to the success and opportunity that church has to do and be what God's called them to be and reach the people that God's called them to
Sure.
reach.
Agreed.
So I wonder what would happen if there was a church that whose whole goal was to reach, let's just say, the metal community, and this is what they did on Sundays.
Yeah.
This is what they did when they gather: is they play metal music. They got some
Right.
dude screaming Jesus. Like you have to imagine because it's not
Sign me up.
because that's the thing is like, and you'll
Sign
have
me up.
some probably traditional guy come in here and be like, well, metal music is of the devil, and it's like, but it's not.
Right.
The music in and of itself is not. Sure, you
Although
could
I grew up not like drums in the church was wrong.
well
Syncopated
same
rhythms. If anyone out there is listening to this that grew up in a fundamentalist church, you'll know what I'm talking about when you hear syncopated rhythms are of the devil.
right.
But
Yes,
so that is still out there.
absolutely, and that's what I'm saying is it's still there, and people
Yeah.
would argue it. But what I'm saying is like God created, I believe God created melody and music and
Yeah.
instruments for a purpose. And again, similar to our discussion earlier, in the shift and change of culture, and
Yep.
like metal music uh became popular, but it became a thing, and then it became popular to a specific group of people. And dude, if we threw some we wrote some metal worship music, like, you have to imagine it would,
It would resonate
I don't know, it
with
resonate
with
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 people,
with a certain subculture.
right?
Yeah,
And often a certain subculture that is not, uh they would probably say they are not warmly welcomed into most church
sure. Oh,
communities.
absolutely. So it's really cool. Like I think about, so my journey through music, growing up to where like I remember our youth pastor got in trouble once for taking us to, oh shoot, who was it? I don't know. It was like a Newsboys concert or something. Like not edgy
Golly.
whatsoever, just like, I don't know, some concert. He got in trouble for taking us to that. So going from that to now, I primarily listen to, a lot of hardcore, post-hardcore, screamo, metal,
Yeah.
emo, still stuck in the emo. It wasn't a phase. It's a way of life. But but just thinking about like back in the mid 2000s, dude, some of the largest like hardcore metalcore bands were Christian bands.
Yeah.
I mean, the Christian music industry for that genre like literally changed that genre of music.
Yeah.
Under Oath is, who probably they don't claim so much to be Christians anymore. Some of them do within the band, but they don't claim to be a Christian band, but they were at that point. And dude, and they changed that genre. They changed the game.
Mm. Mm.
And I think about I always go back to there was a tour that I went to back in the mid 2000s. It was called Scream the Prayer Tour. Okay. And like that was maybe the most worshipful concert experience, music experience I've ever had in my life. And
Yeah.
there were people in the mosh pit. It was wild. It was in a bar. And but dude, like bands like some people would know For Today, their lyrics, they are heavy as heavy gets. And um if you read their lyrics, you may not be able to understand them when you listen to them. If your ear is not
Right.
tuned to listening to that music,
Right.
but if you read their lyrics, solid,
Mm.
biblical, like the most blatant Christian lyrics. Another band called Sleeping Giant, Impending Doom. Like these
Yeah.
are, I'm talking heavy, heavy bands. And dude, some of the most like worshipful experiences of my life.
Yeah.
It's funny, Impending Doom tagged during that time their style of music as goreship.
Goreship.
Goreship. They had a song that says, "This is our worship, goreship."
That's
Yes.
amazing.
But yeah, but dude, that just meant to Oceans, dude. Like her voice, even just because with the shift of the music,
Dude.
made her sound like, like a rocker, like, like an Evanescence or a
Yeah, and she has that
Flyleaf
in her. I
or
mean, Taya has
yeah,
that in
oh
her just
yeah.
in
But
general. I
just
feel like,
just even how it transformed, even the way her vocals sounded, just with those riffs over it was
well, and
amazing.
dude,
So
that's the beauty. Like, that's the beauty of melody and chord progressions. And you could sing the same melody over three different chord progressions, and what comes out is going to sound very different each time,
drastically different. Yeah.
and it's just beautiful. Like, it's a
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, as a
We need
as
to
a
have,
musician and an artist, I figured you
dude,
would
it's
enjoy that.
unbelievable. We need to have, so we should have, I'll ask him. We should have my brother on sometime, who is a worship pastor at a
Yeah.
pretty large Baptist church in Ohio, and they sing a lot of hymns and a lot of, but he grew up and still currently loves metal and just heavy rock, and so he's a guitar player,
Yeah, he's a sick
and
guitar player too. I've heard
he's
some of his stuff he's done.
unbelievable. And
Unbelievable.
he on the just in his spare time, he writes just like heavy
Yeah.
music. and it's normally well, at this point it's all been instrumental, but it's it's just cool, like his just perspective of like I don't know. It'd be an interesting conversation to
Yeah,
have. Like
yeah, I'm here for it.
this dude is a Baptist worship pastor singing hymns on Sunday, and then throughout the week he's writing really heavy,
Letting loose.
emotional, yeah, letting loose,
Yeah.
heavy emotional. It would just be interesting to get his take like on this
Yeah.
conversation, I think.
And I think too, like wrapping this up into our other conversation, there's a place for all of it. Like,
Absolutely.
like I grew up with piano, organ, hymns, and the music director up here doing this and leading worship. And and dude, I don't knock that. Like there's some
No,
hymns played like that take me back, man. And it's just like they're beautiful and it's
absolutely.
amazing. And then there's some others that let's go ahead and get it. But I think when you were talking about having that on like a Sunday, like a church that plays more like heavy worship songs that they add riffs to it and breakdowns and do it more
Right.
in a different genre. You'll see churches do that from time to time, but it's always hokey. It's fake. You know what
And
I'm
that's
saying? It's like, oh, we're doing this like little special thing, or it's 80s week, and they'll
yeah,
wear
and that's
wigs and do something stupid, and it's like, like
do away with that and make it real, make it
I'm
genuine.
saying, I'm saying,
Week to week, just try and reach a certain specific dude. God can do it.
won't he do it?
Won't he do it? That's one of the things that makes me so mad, and just in traditional Christian thinking is like
Yeah,
we limit our perspective of what God can do if it
we put
doesn't
him in a
match,
box.
if it doesn't match what we
Tradition.
think, and
Yeah.
yeah, what we think it should be. And it's like, no, God can move just as powerfully in a bar with heavy metal,
Oh yeah.
screamo, emo music as he can on a chapel on Sunday mornings singing hymns to an organ. You
Dare I
know,
say, even maybe more so.
I wouldn't say more so, because you gotta imagine he could do it both.
Oh yeah, he can do it both, but I'm just saying, like, you know. Anyways,
But yeah, I don't know, man.
but yeah, bro, there's our unmasked reaction of the week. Hopefully next week you'll have a good one for me to react to.
I
We'll try to
will.
bounce it back and forth. It'll be good stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, great talk, great episode today. Thank you all
We'll
so much for
yeah.
being on here.
Y'all
I'd
have
be
any
remiss.
thoughts, questions,
Yeah,
comments? Like
yeah, hit us up.
if you're on Spotify, there's a place you can ask questions or leave comments there. If you're on YouTube watching this, drop some comments below.
Yeah,
Want to hear your thoughts, feedbacks. If you have questions, we'd love to get into like trying to answer
yeah.
people's questions and stuff as
Yeah,
they
if
roll
there's something
in.
that you want us to talk about or you want to hear from our perspective, not that we know much of anything, but we'll talk about it and we like to
Yeah.
talk about it. So we're here for it. So yeah, if you have questions or if you have thoughts on leadership, man, leadership, replication, development, handoff,
Yeah.
man, we'd love to hear it. So, but yeah, make sure you
Again.
go out, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to that, YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Trying to get as many people on here as we can, and continue to
Right.
do more and build. And if you like it, share it with somebody else. And for those that have reached out to us individually, we appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening. It's been fun.
It has been. All right,
So,
my homie, we'll talk next week.
all right, man. We'll see you then.
Bye.